Sup guys, it's me Tello, back to you in another World of Warcraft video for today. Hope everyone's having a damn good one, as always, and much love to you. We're a little bit tired, we've been streaming non-stop lately. At the Twitch TV, we had a big club night last night going on.
Lock in! GTL! We did it! We tanned it! We launched it! Push up chapstick!
A bunch of dancing, as you could see. We were fishing like a madman, and I think we almost made close to 1,500. We're working our way to 2G in gold of lobsters, so it's getting a little crazy over there. So if you're trying to see some fishing, some high intensity, much love to you. Come check out the Twitch. However, though, in today's video, we're talking about whether the Scarlet Enclave raid is too hard or not, or too difficult, because I've seen some articles on Wildhead, which I'll showcase here, which basically is going over if the raid itself eventually will gain a scaling buff, and what will get changed throughout the raid, and people's opinions on whether the raid is just too difficult for entry right now for the pug scene, even for some guilds, because I know a lot of people are struggling before a couple changes were made in the raid to some of the, ads in there, and also Beatrix as well, which is like kind of like a hard stop, and that's only the second boss of the raid, and that's before you even get to Mason or the Beastmaster, which are difficult encounters for other people as well. But for the most part, the raid is very difficult. But I gotta say this right now, and I might sound a little controversial on this one. I like that the raid is hard, and hear me out. I believe it is good that the raid is actually having some challenge for, once in Season of Discovery. Like, we've had issues during Phase 3 with Sunken Temple where Aranicus, if we remember those days, where Aranicus got gutted, and there was, like, people trying to chase the world first of Aranicus, and it was just extremely difficult in the beginning, but then they hit it with a nerf, and then they hit it with another nerf, and then, at that point, Sunken Temple just became way too easy. It was just a joke at that point. The most difficult part of Sunken Temple was the trash, and we hated the trash in ST. All of us as a community, we can agree about that. That trash sucked, right? Probably not as worse as AQ trash, but still trash nonetheless. We hate trash. And the thing is that I think the raid being difficult is a good thing, is because this gives content for people to look forward to, and every piece that you get from this raid itself, it holds its weight and value. Maybe not every piece in general, but at least most of the tier sets, right? And it holds its weight and gives it more worth of getting, and you wanting to participate in a raid each and every week, and saying to yourself, you know what, this is not going to be a raid that we clear week 1 8 out of 8, and if we do, man, we killed it, we knocked it out the ballpark. But it's okay if we clear this raid 4 out of 8. It's okay if we do 6 out of 8. It's okay if we do 7 out of 8. This raid is intended to be difficult, and I think having content in the game that is also hard and difficult, but not something that cannot be, achieved, is something that's a good thing. And I think we've been missing that for a long time as World of Warcraft players, especially in the classic community, because anytime we see a challenge that we deem very difficult, we start claiming it's retail. We start claiming this is a retail mechanic. It's way too hard. I just want to turn my brain off, click one button, and do my thing. And I get that. I understand that for the classic Andes. However, it's about time that we get content that gets the blood rushing, that gets, people thinking, and how can they approach the next raid even better, what other strats they can perform. And also, it gives its value to especially things like legendaries, like the Ashbringer. The Ashbringer has much more value now that it is harder to get, because the raid is actually hard. And having legendaries, hold their pristine or prestige, symbol of being a legendary weapon by actually having something difficult to encounter is something that I think is worth its weight in gold. It's worth its value. And I don't want the raid to be extremely super gutted, and I don't at the same time want it to be, super hard. And I can understand if they want it to, scale some health values, or maybe some percentages on some damage swings, depending on the abilities from the bosses, stuff like that, or make things more visible if there's like some error bugs from the, the boss's moves or something of that nature. That's fine. But I don't think gutting the raid is the right way to go about it. We in Crusade, we went about with like 28 people when we tackled the raid. As you see, I'm showing footage of like us clearing, the first boss, the second, third, and fourth that we, winded up doing. And it was a difficult task. Everybody's learning the first week, everybody's progging, trying to understand the mechanics. And I guarantee if we had like a full 40, we probably would have done much, much better. But we were testing ourselves, and I'm very proud with the 4 out of 8 that we had. Next week, we're going to go in there with more people and try to clear this bad boy up and get 8 8 out of 8, and I'm just looking forward to further enjoyment of the raid by taking it 1 week at a time and not having to blast through the entire content, because I think that's a negative thing. When if a raid is too easy and people blast through the content, then people are going to say, well, there's no content in this phase, sod's dead, and they're going to start complaining and crying on the forums. But if the content's hard and you leave, you know, a barrier of entry where people have to communicate with each other, they have to get into Discord together, they have to talk about their SRs or HRs, they have to bring the proper consumes and be legitimately ready for this raid because it's intended for Nax gear players, then you have to go in there and actually have the state of mind of saying, I'm going to dedicate some time to this tonight, and this is not going to be something that we're going to get done in 1, 2, 3. There's going to be mess ups here and there, and I like that because that's what the actual feeling of classic WoW back in the day, like in the old days, was like, where you didn't have, you know, 100% assistance and help all the time. You had to figure things out with your friends and go through these raids, and you had some, you know, experiences happen where it was just an unfortunate circumstance of a wipe, you know, and that's, in my opinion, a part of the process, and making those pieces that you earn so much more valuable in memories that you'll have these stories to tell in the next couple, you know, months or years to come when you talk about other World of Warcraft things, when you're playing the next version of WoW, whatever classic experience that you play. But yeah, like I was saying, like, I don't want this raid to be completely gutted. I like the fact that it seems like it's this mountain that we have to overcome, and we could do it together. It is clear as day that people are actually clearing the raid right now, and there are people doing 8 out of 8s. I know some people that are doing 8 out of 8s. It is a grind, and it is like kind of cool for once that we have content that not everyone knows about. You can't just, you know, wiggle your way out of this one and put on a rank 7 seal and Nax and, you know, do 5, 6, 7, 8 million damage. You know what I'm saying? You know, like we were doing on Kel'Thuzad especially. You don't need to do all that. And right now it's more, you know, back down to, you know, it's kind of roots of just feeling more gritty and feeling more real, and I like that about this raid more than anything. It's a very enjoyable raid, and I think they've knocked it out the park. So I only hope over there that they, you know, heed to, you know, my message. If any of the devs, I know that you guys watch the channel at times, just understand that I think this raid is good, but at the same time, please don't like remove everything out of it, because honestly, it is fun that there is some type of barrier of entry to this, and people have to do the older raids. It incentivizes people doing older content like Naxxramas, AQ, doing ZG, all this other stuff to get proper gearing so they can get involved within the new raid. Hell, even BWL is relevant. So this is pretty dope. I like that a lot. Now, I also want to go over Aggrend's post with you guys because I really feel like he mentioned a lot of interesting things that we are just talking about in this video. So let's talk about this together and we'll read his posts. Watching a lot of back and forth about the raid being too hard and the few key things here to consider in the thread below. Before I dive into that, we agreed that boss 1 and 2 are a little bit too hard and have already made some adjustments to make them more manageable, which they have did actively when the raid was out. So for number 1, no PTR. In contrast to all other level 60 raids, there's not 20 years of pre-knowledge. Figuring out mechanics is a thing that takes time, and it's also something classic players have little experience with. If players want truly a new classic content, they may need to get used to prog again, which I like. Not everything's going to be figured out on Wowhead or cheatplanet.com or having some type of understanding macros that are put on the internet for you to just automatically spam when a certain mechanic happens. None of that. You have to figure these things out, and I like that. So please keep, a knowledge check and prog throughout the weeks and months to come for this raid, because that's what makes it so much more better, in my opinion. Number 2, the gear in Scarlet Enclave is dramatically better than Nax gear. By the time you get your 8 out of 8 set, you'll do between 25 to 40% more damage, and at full best, you'll do 50% more damage. Killing 1 or 2 bosses in the first lockout, and then 2 to 3 in the next lockout, get your raid 25 plus very strong items. And I like that because it is going to get stronger. The items do seem much, much more better as we keep going through the raid. Number 3, we have a system in place that after some time will allow you to gain a buff that will make it easier, similar to ICC. We don't want to flip this on this, coin just yet, but we're discussing the timing for it, and we'll likely make an announcement on that soon. I'm not too sure if they should do that system as of yet in Scarlet Enclave. I think they should hold off a little bit, get some more data for the entire month before they make those decisions, and then ask the community about it to see if that should be some type of consideration. And then he says, anyway, this isn't a get good post. This is just acknowledgement of the some culture shock. We expect this to a degree, and we just want to see what you're capable of. If you think it's too hard, fair enough. Give it a bit of time to get it figured out by the community and take another shot at it next week. I agree. There's nothing wrong with getting back on the horse and seeing what you could do. You know, just keep grinding. We really want your progression through this content to be satisfying, and a part of satisfaction comes from overcoming a challenge. It's tough to make content that has, in some form or another, better well known for years truly hard, but truly new content deserves a bit more friction, and I agree. It feels good going through the grinder again. I actually like it. You should feel no rush or pressure to get through the content fast. Take your time, share info with each other, and keep at it. It will get easier over time. Through either you're making incremental progress to gearing up, or mechanisms we put it to make it easier for you guys, pretty much. But it's 24 hours. Let it breathe. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Like, guys, there's no need for us to panic and flip out. It's only been 24 hours to 48, maybe a little bit longer now since this post has been out, but it's not that big of a deal. It's literally week 1. So let's just calm down and let's settle down before we all flip out when it comes to, you know, is this raid super hard? Is this raid, you know, too worrisome for my guild? Should we doom and gloom about the situation? Let's just calm down, guys. It's literally just week 1. Last thing he says here, though, like everything in SOD, this is an experiment. Finding those boundaries has been important to us, and it still is. I appreciate all the feedback we've gotten so far, both positive and critical. We are incredibly excited to see guilds see the entire raid and story play out. I think this is great. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is phenomenal. I think the fact that they are actually, for the first time, putting in some legitimate, serious new content that is actually something we can all overcome. People are already doing 8 out of 8s. I know some friends that are doing 8 out of 8s with a full 40-man group. This actually takes time and requirement and knowledge and understanding of boss mechanics and paying attention and gathering data and progging. This is what it's all about. So don't get bummed out if you're only doing 1 out of 8, 2 out of 8, whatever you're doing. We only did 4 out of 8 in the Crusade and on our end. So it's not a huge ordeal. You will get through it. Take some time, go back on the footage, learn it, prepare for this week, get your consumes up again. It's not that hard making gold as people like to, you know, try to claim it to be. I got some gold videos if you need to watch it. I literally making 1,500 gold last night selling lobsters, so sell it down. However, though, lock it in. I believe in you guys, and you will clear Scarlet Enclave. I hope you enjoyed it, and much love to you. When we have the entire raid completed, I will put out more than likely a guide from the Paladin's perspective of the Scarlet Enclave, and we'll get back in there. So much love to you. Keep on keeping on, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Also, if you're going to do the Scarlet Enclave, bring your Advil. You're going to need to down a whole bottle of it for your last headache. In Minecraft, don't down the bottle. Just take 2 and ask your doctor and be respectful. Much love to ya. Mwah.